Look at a sports car roaring down a highway, burning fuel and generating heat. Now look at a potted fern on a windowsill, doing nothing. If you ask a young child, they might guess the car is alive and the plant is an inanimate object. We know it's the other way around. But when you stop to think about it, why exactly is the fast, energy-consuming machine considered dead, while the silent, stationary plant gets to be called living? Moving around and burning through an energy source are not the exclusive markers of life. A car does both, and it is entirely non-living. To actually qualify as a living organism, an entity has to pass a strict, hidden test. It all comes down to a universal checklist of invisible processes that unite everything from microscopic bacteria to a giant redwood tree. First, an organism has to move on its own, grow in size over time, and physically respond to changes in its environment, like a sudden drop in temperature or a loud noise. Next are the daily maintenance tasks, taking in nutrition to build bodily tissues, and excreting the toxic waste products that naturally build up from those internal chemical reactions. Finally, an organism must carry out two processes that keep its machinery running and its species surviving: respiration and reproduction. You can't just have 3 or 4 of these traits. To gain entry into the living club, an entity must perform all 7 processes simultaneously. Passing this rigorous 7-part test permanently separates a complex engineered machine, like our sports car, from even the simplest biological life form. Of those 7 processes, one is constantly misunderstood. We often confuse respiration with breathing, the mechanical act of pulling air into lungs or filtering it through gills. True respiration happens on a microscopic scale. It's the cellular process of burning simple sugars with oxygen inside a mitochondrion to release usable energy. And a counterintuitive fact: plants respire too. Even in the pitch dark, they continuously burn stored fuel to stay alive. This happens completely independently of photosynthesis, the process where plants use daylight to create their food. Photosynthesis stops when the sun goes down, but respiration never takes a break. Respiration acts as the universal, non-stop engine powering every single action an organism takes. Without it, the other 6 life processes immediately grind to a halt. So if plants are doing all this internal work, how exactly do they respond to their physical environment, without a brain, muscles, or eyes? They rely on tropisms. A tropism is an automatic, chemical-driven physical response to an environmental stimulus, like light, touch, or gravity. When a frog gets startled and jumps into a pond, that's locomotion. It's moving its entire body from one place to another using muscles. Plant movement operates as a growth movement. When a sunflower tracks the sun, it is permanently and irreversibly changing its cellular size and direction to stretch toward the light. Biological stillness is an illusion. Plants are constantly moving and reacting to the world around them. They are doing it at a slower, chemical pace, dictated by the rules of irreversible growth. Every organism is eventually limited by its lifespan. Because individual plants and animals age and die, reproduction is the only mechanism available for a species to ultimately survive. Some organisms use asexual reproduction. This acts like a biological photocopier, requiring only a single parent to create an exact genetic clone of itself, much like an amoeba splitting in 2. Other organisms will rely on sexual reproduction. This is a collaborative process that requires 2 parents and fuses their genetic material, creating offspring with unique genetic variation. Whether cloning identical copies or mixing genes to adapt, reproduction allows the vast web of life to persist across generations. When an organism successfully navigates all 7 of these life processes over its lifespan, it forms a predictable loop known as a life cycle. For some species, like a bean plant, this cycle is straightforward. A seed sprouts, grows into an adult plant, and produces more seeds. But certain animals undergo radical, shape-shifting physical changes along the way. This is metamorphosis. A frog starts as an aquatic egg, hatches into a swimming tadpole, and physically transforms into a land-dwelling adult. A mosquito follows a similar extreme shift from a water-bound larva to a flying adult. This physical transformation acts as a highly specialized survival strategy. It allows a single species to conquer completely different environments and food sources as they age. Understanding these life cycles gives us a massive practical advantage. Knowing that aquatic mosquito larvae must come to the surface of stagnant water to breathe means we can drastically reduce the spread of mosquito-borne diseases simply by emptying out old buckets and bird baths. Similarly, understanding the rules of plant reproduction empowers us to design targeted pollinator gardens, sustaining local ecosystems and protecting our own food supplies. Let's look back at that sports car and the potted fern. The car is loud and fast, but its engine is entirely dependent on an outside driver. The fern is silent and still, but inside it is running a complex, invisible biological engine. Observing and understanding those 7 vital processes gives us the power to protect, control, and appreciate the interconnected living club we all share.